Okay, so let's unpack this. Because usually when we talk about enterprise data software, there's this underlying expectation of surrender.
Right, yeah, like handing over your keys.
Exactly. It's like giving your car keys to a valet. You upload your spreadsheets, your customer records, your entire company's lifeblood, basically, into the cloud. And you just trust that some massive remote server farm is going to handle it safely.
Yeah, and it's the modern trade-off we've all just been conditioned to accept, I mean. We trade total control and honestly, often a degree of privacy for ultimate convenience.
Right.
We want our heavy processing to just be invisible, happening somewhere out in the ether.
But then you step into the world of this data operations workspace called datok, and suddenly the valet is fired. You are keeping the keys.
Wow.
We are looking at a system today that entirely, stubbornly flips the script on modern tech.
It really does.
And what's wild is that this isn't some clunky desktop app you have to download and install.
No, not at all. It is the absolute definition of an anti-cloud architecture, yet it lives right in your browser, which honestly is a fascinating engineering feat.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a stack of system documentation, user guides, interface screenshots for datok. And our mission today is to explore this counter trend.
Yeah, it's a big one.
In a world where every single app wants to, harvest your data to train their models, datok offers enterprise-grade extract, transform, and load operations, plus visualization, plus AI. But it processes 100% of it locally on your machine.
Zero cloud compute whatsoever.
Which completely redefines the boundaries of what you can and cannot do with your sensitive data. I know you, listening right now, might be dealing with tool fatigue. Or maybe you have massive anxieties about data privacy, compliance, GDPR, all of that.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone does.
So we are going to break down how a browser-based web app manages heavy data lifting without ever phoning home. Because before we manipulate anything, we have to understand where this data actually lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to datok.eu and there was absolutely zero installation.
Right, and that is the foundational question here. It's where the magic starts. With datok, because you are just navigating to datok.eu, there is no executable file to install.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no IT ticket required. Instead, it leverages something inside your modern web browser called the Origin Private File System, or OPFS.
Okay, stop right there. Explain OPFS to me like I'm 5. Because if I'm not installing anything, how on earth is it saving massive data files on my computer?
So think of OPFS as a high-performance secret vault that your browser essentially carves out on your hard drive.
Okay.
And only datok.eu has the key to its specific vault. When you pull in a massive dataset, datok isn't sending it to a server in Virginia or wherever.
Right.
It writes a physical SQLite database file directly into that secure OPFS vault on your local drive. So there is zero cloud footprint.
Zero. Meaning absolute privacy. You aren't pinging a third-party server just to, filter some rows containing sensitive payroll data.
Precisely. It guarantees compliance. But, and we have to be honest here, it introduces a very harsh reality check.
Oh.
Because there is no infinite cloud compute backing you up, performance is strictly, relentlessly tied to your own hardware.
Right.
Yeah, your RAM capacity, your CVU strength, your solid-state drive read and write speeds. It all depends on your machine.
It's like cooking in your own kitchen instead of mailing your ingredients to a commercial restaurant. You have total control. No one is snooping on your secret recipe, but you are limited by the size of your own stove.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah.
Which brings up my pushback here. If everything is sitting in this OPFS sandbox on my local machine, aren't we just reverting to the dark ages of version control? What happens if I spill coffee on my laptop? I mean, isn't the cloud's main benefit disaster recovery?
Well, it's a fair point, and it's the exact trade-off you have to weigh. Datok isn't meant to replace your corporate backup strategy, You still need to export and save your final output securely.
Oh, yeah.
What it provides is absolute privacy during the actual processing phase. But to your point about the stove, if you try to cook a feast for 500 people on a 4-burner stove, things are going to break.
Right.
Datok runs its active datasets directly inside the browser tab's sandbox memory. This means you are bound by JavaScript heap memory limits.
Which is what exactly? Like in numbers?
In a modern browser, it's usually capped between 1.5 to 4 gigabytes.
Wait, 4 gigabytes? That is nothing in today's data world. What happens if I try to load 50 million rows into a tab all at once?
The browser tab will just crash. You will literally get an out-of-memory error.
Wow, okay. So isn't this just a toy then, if I hit a wall that fast?
Actually, no, and this is where it gets really interesting. The creator of Datok actually spent over 10 years working heavily in enterprise tools like Alteryx and Tableau.
Right.
Yeah, so they intimately understand the pain points of an operator. When the tab crashes, your local disk files in that OPFS vault remain completely uncorrupted.
Oh, so you don't lose the data.
Exactly. What this hard limitation does is force operators to be efficient.
Oh, I see. It stops you from being lazy with your data.
Exactly. When you have infinite cloud compute, you just dump 50 million rows into a pipeline and let the server churn for an hour. Datok forces a mindset shift. It encourages you to use sampling and filtering early on in your pipeline. It makes you an intentional data engineer rather than a passive one.
That makes a lot of sense. So since we are bound by our own hardware, the tools we use to prep that data need to be incredibly streamlined.
Very much so.
Let's look at how data actually gets ingested and transformed then. The prep module is basically the visual data kitchen, right?
Yeah, and it is beautifully optimized. They use the siteescape.js canvas for the visual node graph. Yeah, it was originally built for biological network analysis, so it is highly optimized for rendering complex relationships without, lagging your browser. You just build your pipeline by connecting functional nodes.
And if you're listening and you spent any time building data pipelines, you know how quickly they turn into a tangled plate of spaghetti.
Oh, yeah.
But the drop zone here handles almost everything seamlessly. Standard open formats, of course, CSV, JSON, Parquet, Avro. But it also decodes proprietary enterprise formats locally.
Which is huge.
Yeah, things like Alteryx YXDB files and Tableau Hyper files up to 50 megabytes. But wait, I have to stop you there, though. Those are closed proprietary ecosystems. How is a zero-install browser app translating a complex Tableau file without Tableau's servers?
Right, and this is where that creator's decade of experience really shines through. It's a brilliant piece of engineering. The local engine literally cracks open the binary container of those files right on your machine.
No way.
Yeah, it reads the metadata headers and maps the proprietary data types directly into standard SQLite formats instantly.
So an Alteryx float, or like a double, simply becomes a SQLite real number.
Yes. Instant translation, no servers, no uploading to a conversion API.
That is seriously impressive. And looking at the node palette, they have some highly specific tools too. There's a unit converter node that handles mass, volume, speed, temperature.
Really handy.
But the two that address the biggest daily headaches are the monitor tool and the dedupe tool.
Oh, the monitor tool is brilliant specifically because it is connectionless.
Yes. If you're listening, you know the absolute misery of having to drag a browse node and wire it up to every single step of your pipeline just to find out where your client IDs got corrupted.
It's the worst. You end up with 20 extra nodes just for debugging.
Exactly. But Datok eliminates that. The monitor acts as a real-time debugger across the entire canvas. You turn it on, set a field criteria, say the specific customer ID, and it watches the execution outputs across all active nodes simultaneously.
It's like X-ray vision for your pipeline.
Yeah, you can instantly see exactly which node stripped the leading zeros from your zip codes without wiring a single thing.
And then there's the dedupe tool, because removing duplicates is usually just a black box in most software. But Datok uses cryptographic tracing.
Wait, how does that actually work for the user? Like, mathematically?
It generates a unique mathematical fingerprint for a row of data using algorithms like SHA-256 or UEYDV5. So if you split your data into a unique stream and a duplicate stream to clean it up, the matching records in both streams get the exact same cryptographic hashtag appended to them.
Oh, meaning if my boss asks me exactly why 30 records were dropped from the final report, I can perfectly audit where every single duplicate went because their digital fingerprints match?
Exactly. It's mathematically perfect.
It proves this wasn't built to be just a lightweight toy. It's built for serious data governance, which I think segues into how they handle what is arguably the most resource-intensive task in modern software right now.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, this is the part I've been waiting for. We have traditional data prep, but there is one node in that palette that completely changes the game: AI. We are bringing AI home.
Yes. The AI Llama LLM tool. It's a massive paradigm shift.
So if I have an AI intern that can clean 2 million rows of messy human-written addresses, that's a goldmine. This node allows you to run text classification and data cleaning prompts directly inside your pipelines.
Right in line with the data.
But wait, if this is all happening in the browser, how is it running AI? I thought the whole point was we aren't sending our sensitive corporate data to OpenAI or Anthropic.
We aren't. And this solves the ultimate corporate dilemma right now. Companies are terrified, understandably, of violating internal data sharing policies by uploading customer records to public LLMs.
Right, the privacy nightmare.
Exactly. Datok solves this by integrating with Alama. Now, Alama is a separate open source tool you run locally on your machine that hosts AI models. Datok simply connects to your local Alama instance.
Okay, so it's like having a brilliant intern sitting next to you who reads every row of your spreadsheet, categorizes the text, but they are locked in a room without internet access. They physically can't leak anything.
That's exactly it. But obviously, AI needs serious horsepower. The documentation breaks this down into 3 hardware tiers, depending on what machine you're actually running.
Let's walk through those, because not everyone has a supercomputer on their desk.
Right. So if you just have a standard business laptop CPU only, no dedicated graphics card, you're in tier 1. You can run tiny 1 to 3 billion parameter models like Llama 3.21b.
Yep.
It's going to be slower, running entirely on your system RAM, but it is fully functional for basic text extraction.
Then you step up to mid-range. Say you have a dedicated GPU with maybe 6 to 8 gigabytes of video RAM. Now you can run 8 billion parameter models incredibly fast.
Exactly. And finally, high-end workstations. If you have 12 to 24 gigs of VRAM, you can pull massive 70 billion parameter models locally. Yeah, at that point, your physical machine is matching commercial cloud APIs in reasoning quality with 0 latency and 0 privacy risk.
It is wild that we are at a point where you can run a 70 billion parameter model to clean your data, triggered by a browser-based node graph on your desk.
It really is.
Okay, so my AI intern has cleaned the data. I'm sitting on perfectly prepped files. But looking at raw tables is useless for a board meeting. How does a purely local tool handle enterprise-grade visualization without choking?
Well, that is handled by the Analyze, Dashboard, and Legend modules, basically making sense of the data.
Okay.
The Analyze module is where you build your pivot tables and run custom SQL. Though it's worth noting the SQL console is strictly restricted to select statements.
Yeah, I noticed that. And at first I was annoyed, like, why can't I write an update or delete statement?
Because Datok enforces a read-only view for your analysis to protect the integrity of the OPFS database.
Ah.
Yeah, you can't accidentally drop a massive table right before a presentation. If you want to modify data, you have to go back to the visual prep canvas.
That makes sense. It protects me from myself, basically. But the pivot tables have some serious power under the hood, specifically with level of detail, or LOD calculations.
Oh yeah, this is a crucial concept to grasp. Normally, a standard row-level formula calculates exactly that row by row. But a fixed LOD calculation computes aggregations before your pivot table filters even apply.
Give me a real-world example of why I need that, for anyone listening who isn't a SQL wizard.
Sure. Say you want to look at a specific customer's individual purchase today, but you want to compare it as a percentage of their lifetime total across all years.
Okay.
A standard filter for today would hide all the historical data, breaking your calculation. A fixed LOD anchors that lifetime total independently, so you can compare microdata against macro totals dynamically, regardless of what dimensions you drag into your view.
Oh, that's incredibly powerful. And once you have those numbers, you need to visualize them. Datok uses chart.js, and the options are extensive. Patch bubbles, box and whisker plots for statistical outliers, Gantt charts. And the mapping blew my mind.
Right. The geographic mapping is incredibly detailed. It renders boundaries right down to U.S. counties or specific geographical ranges like the Ural Mountains in Russia.
Crazy.
It automatically detects country codes, even mixing 2-letter and 3-letter ISO codes, and plots them on a lifelike, dark mode, equirectangular world map.
But with all these options, I have to ask. You give an analyst 50 chart types, and half the time they just make a cluttered, unreadable mess.
Oh, Datok anticipates that. It enforces strict guardrails. The tool quietly teaches data visualization best practices by requiring highly specific inputs. You literally cannot just throw 5 random variables into a pie chart.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, the system strictly requires exactly 1 dimension and 1 measure for a pie chart. For a box and whisker plot, again, exactly 1 dimension and 1 measure. It physically will not let you build a mathematically bad chart.
That is such smart design. It saves so many meetings from getting derailed by confusing graphics. And once you have your charts, you arrange them on a 12-column grid in the Dashboard tab. It features global interactive filters, so changing a region dropdown updates every single chart on the canvas simultaneously, plus a full-screen present mode for the actual boardroom.
But a dashboard is only as good as the trust people have in the data itself. If an executive doesn't understand a metric, they dismiss the whole dashboard, which is why the Legend module exists.
Oh, the data glossary. I love this feature. It maps the ugly technical column names like, custard FINA1 to what Datok calls nice names like customer financial identifier.
Much better.
Yeah, and you can assign internal stewards and experts to each field. And a tiny quality of life feature I noticed.
Yeah.
You can use Shift plus Enter to type multi-line descriptions.
And every time a description is updated, the system triggers a debounce autosave.
A debounce.
Yeah, meaning it waits for you to start typing for a fraction of a second before saving, rather than saving on every single keystroke and bogging down the system. It logs a last edited audit timestamp too, creating a fully auditable business catalog.
Okay, so we have these massive local SQLite files in our OPFS vault. We're running AI. We're building dashboards. But I'm a chronic tab hoarder. What happens if I have 20 Datok tabs open?
Well, because Datok uses your browser's shared local storage, your configurations actually sync across all those open tabs seamlessly. If you change a setting in tab A, tab B knows about it instantly.
But what if I try to run a heavy data pipeline that writes to a database file in tab A, and at the exact same time, I try to run a custom SQL query on that exact same file in tab B?
You will hit a SQLite file lock. You'll get a databases locked error. It operates strictly on a last write wins basis.
So it means you can open multiple tabs, but you still have to respect the laws of physics. You literally cannot write to the same physical file on your hard drive twice at the exact same millisecond.
Exactly. And I actually praise this transparency. Rather than hiding behind an abstract cloud loading screen that just spins infinitely while a remote server queues your requests in the dark, Datok exposes the reality of local file architecture.
It forces a cleaner workflow. You know exactly what your machine is doing.
Right.
Now, if this is purely local, how does an enterprise actually use this? Doesn't local mean solo? What if a company deploys this on a remote server for their team?
It scales securely because it relies on strict file system sandboxing. For multi-user deployments, users are isolated via Nginx reverse proxies.
Okay, Nginx reverse proxy is a great buzzword, but how does it actually stop user A from seeing user B's payroll data?
Think of Nginx like a highly organized hotel concierge. When you log in, the concierge dynamically resolves your personal data directory using an email hash suffix.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it routes you strictly to your own room and blinds you to the rest of the hallway. User A can literally never, ever access user B's files. There is no shared central database pool where data could accidentally leak across accounts.
Because everyone is just interacting with their own independent SQLite files on disk.
Exactly. Plus, access is locked down with mandatory Google Authenticator 2FA. Admins can force password resets or block account access entirely until a user actively clicks to accept updated GDPR terms of service.
Taking enterprise compliance and enforcing it at the local individual file level.
Exactly.
And if you are listening and want to actually test this out to see if your laptop can handle it, datok.eu offers an 8-hour free trial. The best part, no credit card required.
That's rare these days.
Very. You just go to the site, the OPFS vault spins up, and you start building.
It ensures that the fundamental philosophy of Datok remains intact, Strict data isolation, zero friction, and total user control.
Which brings us to the core takeaway for you listening today. Datok proves something that the major tech conglomerates have been trying to convince us is impossible. It proves you do not need the cloud to do heavy enterprise data lifting.
You really don't.
You don't need a remote server to do advanced visualization or to run bleeding-edge AI to clean your text fields. By utilizing local computing power right inside your browser, Datok gives you ultimate speed, control, and privacy over a massive variety of data formats.
It takes the power of modern data engineering and places it squarely back into your own hands.
So I want to leave you with a completely different angle to ponder. We started by talking about that feeling of surrender, handing your keys over to the cloud valet. But think about the physical reality of the cloud.
Right.
Massive server farms out in the desert, consuming millions of gallons of water for cooling and pulling enough electricity to power small countries.
The environmental cost is staggering.
It really is. Now look at your desk. You probably have a modern M-series MacBook or a high-end Intel laptop just sitting there using maybe 10% of its processing power while you check emails.
Yeah.
What if the anti-cloud movement isn't just about privacy? What if utilizing the millions of dormant processors already sitting on our desks is actually the most radical green tech trend of the decade?
That's a great point. It forces us to ask if we've been outsourcing a job our own machines are more than capable of doing.
Think about it. keep your keys, take your data back,
What?
and maybe save a little power while you're at it. Until next time, keep diving deep.